Hey everybody, it's Jo Perrot, founder of the Ladies Working Dog Group. Are you feeling stuck with your gun dog training? Trust me, you're not alone, and that's exactly why you need to be here. Every week, we're bringing you the best tips and hacks to make training your gun dog easy peasy. We'll keep it straightforward, no fuss, just actionable guidance that you can put straight to use. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Proudly Expected. Joining me for this week's episode, LWDG Mindset Coach Emma Liddell. How are we today, Emma?
I'm doing really good, and I'm looking forward to quite an in-depth discussion about dogs' purposes and what makes a gun dog a gun dog.
Fabulous. This week it comes around from conversations that we've been having in the group, like, is your dog really a gun dog if it doesn't go out on a shoot? And we can see we did a poll, we could see from the feedback that like 48% of our women will never take their dogs on shoots, or they haven't taken their dogs on shoots yet, and then the rest have taken their dogs on shoots, and that doesn't mean they'll continue to take them on shoots. There seems to be this sort of like, not divide, but there seems to be an equality of dogs that will and the dogs that won't. So it's not just sort of like most dogs go out and do it, is it?
No, and I think it's such an interesting term when we talk about the term gun dog. Like, what makes my dog a gun dog? Is it the classification of its breed? Because it would fit into the gun dog category if I took it to crafts. Is it about what my dog does as a job? How does that work? Because we have non-gun dog breed dogs that work on sheets. I've seen German Shepherds work on a sheet. I've seen mixed breeds. I've seen collies work on a sheet. So then would they be a gun dog? And I think it's also about our expectations that if we go out and choose to buy a gun dog breed, what are our expectations for that versus the reality of what the dog can do?
The sort of expectations versus reality. Often we sort of come into gun dog ownership with certain expectations that we. How do you think these expectations generally like align or differ from the reality of living with a gun dog, and how their traits will impact on how we behave around them?
And I think that it's so different because it's how did we end up with that dog? So it's whether potentially some of the women in this group, I'm trying to think about people's experiences, have ended up with the dog because it was a family pet and they decided actually, or maybe another member of their family wanted to work it and that hasn't come about. So it's kind of fallen on their shoulders to work the dog. It might be that it's a popular breed. At the moment, we know that the working Cocker Spaniel is quite a popular dog to own. And people then get the dog and go, oh gosh, it's a very demanding dog, I should be doing something with it, and then kind of come into kind of gun dog work or pet gun dog work from that. It might be that it's a rescue. Like, for example, people know my story into gun dogs. My first gun dog was a rescue. And I got him specifically because I wanted to work him with a hawk, a bird of prey, and it's quite common to work birds over pointers. So that's how I ended up with my HPR cross Labrador. And that didn't work out. So again, I had this expectation of this dog and what I would do with it. And that didn't happen. That wasn't my dog's purpose. So I think we can come into owning a gun dog breed in a huge variety of ways. I think it's very individual to that person or that dog, really.
And this sort of like the different routes we come into it and the different breeds we can sort of have. There are several breeds that sort of come under this sort of like gun dog category. What are the sort of unique traits do you think that makes a gun dog other than a breed name?
I think it's about what it can do. We've kind of got our three most common types. So we've kind of got our spaniels, which are generally for hunting and beating. Then we've got our Labradors, which are generally your picking up dogs, and your retrievers. So, and again, you don't see many kind of golden retrievers, flat-coated retrievers out in the field, but that's what they're bred to do. We've got your poodle breeds as well. They're hunting breeds. And then you've got your HPRs, which obviously I'm massively passionate about. And anyone who's known me for more than 10 minutes knows that I bang on about HPRs quite a lot. And that kind of multi-purpose aspect of them, but again, suited to a very different environment. And we know that, Lucy Hall talks about that in kind of great details about the world of HPRs. So they're all different breeds, and traditionally they're used for each of those purposes, but we've kind of got crossbreeds coming in. I own 2 crossbreeds. We've kind of got your Springadors, you've kind of got all your other kind of your Sprockers, all those other breeds that are coming in have their own different temperaments. And then you've got other dogs that just naturally suit that kind of work. Like I said, when you see German Shepherds pick up on a shoot, it's great to see, or you see a Collie or Collie Cross or something like that. So again, I think it's about what each dog is capable of. And I know the experts talk very much about work with the dog in front of you, and it's what that dog is capable of doing. And yes, we have to take into account its breed, but it's about what that dog is capable of.
Do you think that, like, we talked on a previous podcast about how people perceive themselves coming into the sport? Do you think it's how people perceive their dogs coming into the sport as well? Like, you know, is there this idea that, oh my God, if I've got a gun dog, I must ultimately end up standing in a field somewhere with a gun?
Yeah, I think that's sometimes a bit of an expectation that we have, that it's a journey we're going to go on. And for some people, when they get that dog, that is ultimately their goal. You know, they get that dog and they've always wanted to do that, and that dog is a pathway to that. For some people, it's absolutely not. They'd never thought they would go on a shoot, and some of them go on to love doing it. And for some people, that's just not for them, because ethically it's not something they feel comfortable with, or potentially they don't even have access to it. It's not something that is locally around them for them to kind of come forward to, or they just feel uncomfortable with it. There's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable handling kind of game or anything else like that, and that's okay. They shouldn't be excluded from that community when their dog absolutely loves hunting, loves retrieving, loves every other aspect of kind of that dog's purpose, what that dog is bred to do and enjoy, just because they're not standing on a beating line, or they're not standing behind a gun ready to pick up.
Yeah, because I fully agree with you. Like, a gun dog isn't made a gun dog by being standing anywhere near a gun. A gun dog just is a dog that enjoys doing the things a gun dog would have traditionally done.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, again, it's about our expectations. And I know I've mentioned Fudge a lot of times. I feel like the whole community is getting to know my dogs through this, but it's the best way of explaining it. So obviously Fudge was supposed to be worked with my hawk. Within about 2 days, we worked out quite quickly my hawk absolutely hated him, although Fudge was massively ambivalent about the bird. And that was it. His purpose, the reason I got him, apart from him being a rescue, was gone. And so I was like, well, now what do I do with him? So then I was like, okay, do you know what? He's a Labrador GSP, German Shorthair Pointer Cross. We could try working him as a gun dog. He was very aggressive towards Labradors, an issue that unfortunately we really struggled to get past with him. So that was his gun dog career over. So at that point, is he no longer a gun dog? Because he's a cross of 2 gun dog breeds. And absolutely, he loves retrieving. So even at 11 years old, I'll take him out to a field, I'll throw out dummies, and he absolutely loves it. He loves hunting, he loves scent work, and he loves retrieving. So he loves doing things that gun dogs do, just not in a live gun dog scenario, so to speak. So does that make him not a gun dog? He's still fulfilling his purpose. He's still doing something he really enjoys. So it's about where we draw that line.
And this is, I suppose, the important part, isn't it? Because we need to fulfill our dogs' needs, their emotions, and they have to be like happy and thriving and content and all those things. And that's, I think, the line of whether we're fulfilling our dog and our dog's purpose is whether they are displaying to us that we are meeting that criteria.
Absolutely. And I think their breed is just part of that. And obviously, because the majority of the dogs we own are gun dog type breeds, that leads us into that kind of gun dog type of work. But sometimes we've got to understand that our expectations for that dog and the reality of what our dog can do is different. And that's kind of a decision that I'm faced with at the moment with my youngest backup puppy, as we refer to him, Scout. Because actually, again, he's another Labrador cross HPR. He likes ranging far away. That is bred into him. And yet I wanted to use him as a beating dog. And am I going against his natural inbred tendency? And am I asking something of him that isn't going to fulfill him because he likes to range at long distances? So again, I've got to come to that decision with myself, that my own ethical decision about, am I going to try and conform my dog into something that naturally he may not enjoy doing. And we sometimes see that with dogs, where they far enjoy picking up, they don't like beating, or they love beating and they don't like picking up. And often we want to have a dog that does it all. And that's our expectation, but that might not be the reality. Now, I need to come to that decision at some point, depending on how Scouts training goes, because he's only 2. So there's still kind of a long way to go with him. But I also made the decision to fulfill his needs. I also man trail him. And he absolutely loves that. And a really good example that I'll say is one of the people, so my man trailing instructor, she's got 2 lovely, beautiful liver German short-haired pointers as well. She's a big HPR fan. She doesn't do any gun dog work with them. One is a retired operational search and rescue dog, and the other's being trained up to be a search and rescue dog. So are they not gun dogs? They're gun dog breeds. They're like KC registered gun dog breeds, but they're used as search and rescue dogs. And actually, if you see them, they're both absolutely fulfilling their purpose, which is hunting, using their nose and finding things and getting a reward for it. So I think we have to think a little bit bigger about what our expectations are for our dogs, what our dog's capability is, what their breed is and what they're bred to do, and where that all kind of, it's like a Venn diagram, and where that sweet spot is in the middle, where we're fulfilled as owners, but also our dogs are fulfilled in the purpose that they really enjoy doing, which might not necessarily be our expectation in the first place.
When it came to like naming the group, like we started out with the Women's and Beaters Pickers Up group as a Facebook group, and very quickly changed that because of the type of men we were bringing to the group, which we really didn't want. But like when I called it the ladies working dog group, I don't think there was a lot of people then at that time where they were referring them to them so much as working dogs. We were talking very much about gun dogs who worked, but maybe not so much working dogs. And now I look at it and I think I'm really glad I said working dogs, because the dogs that are doing scent work are working dogs, and the dogs that are doing man trailing are working dogs, and the canny cross dogs are working dogs, and the collies are working dogs, and all these dogs, if they're doing something with you, they're working with you. As far as I'm concerned, they are doing or meeting their purpose if they have a love for it, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think that's the core of it for me, is that our dogs generally want to have a purpose. They want to do something, and whether that's an agility dog, whether that's a scent dog, and we've got working dogs out there in the community that do amazing things. We've got bat detection dogs, and we've got dogs that can sense whether people are going to have a fit. We've got dogs that serve a fantastic purpose, and that's not even including kind of our police dogs, our military dogs, and all those other things. I think it's really important about what is that dog's purpose going to be. Is it an emotional support dog? Is it there as a scent dog? And it doesn't mean that we have to literally give it a job to do. They don't all have to be employed, but they have to have a purpose. Even at work, we've got well-being dogs within policing that go in and spend time with serving officers and staff. And people get a lot of comfort from that. People open up when they're around dogs. They are so fantastic for boosting serotonin. And so dogs, by being around by default for me, have a purpose. But we have dogs, most of us own dogs that are bred to do very specific things, whether that's kind of a gun dog, whether that's a herding dog, whether that's a dog that kind of is a guarding breed, whatever that is, they have an innate purpose. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, that when we can harness that in a positive way, so the dog is fulfilled and we as the owner get to be part of that, to build a really special bond with that dog. That's what's really beautiful. I think that's what makes that relationship so special.
I suppose there is confusion though with the word working, in the fact that, does my dog get paid to do this job? And I'm sure, like, as we've discussed in some other podcasts over the last couple of weeks, I've really been reviewing the vocabulary I use, because I want people to see the group as it is, and sometimes maybe just through lack of sheer appreciation of how other people might view that. Like, your dog doesn't have to have a pay slip to be part of our group, does it?
No, my dogs don't get anything. Like, they just get lots of love from me. They don't work for anything. But in a way, I say that, and I'm about to say something that's completely opposite. Our dogs do work, because we train our dogs and they work for rewards. And whether that reward is a dummy, whether that reward is a good lad, whether that reward is a food reward, whether that reward is play, we are expecting our dogs to work for something. So, for example, if I take Scout out man trailing, he does scent work to find somebody, and his reward at the end is either food or he gets to play tug. So he has worked for that reward. No, he hasn't had a pay slip, but that doesn't mean he hasn't worked. That's like saying to mothers, because you don't have a pay slip, it's not a job raising your children, when we know it absolutely is. It's a massive job. And actually we don't get paid anywhere near enough about what that would look like, because there's no 9 to 5, it's all of the time. So if we relate that to our dogs, if we are doing any training with them, are working, because we're asking them to think about their brain. We're giving them a set criteria, an expectation of what we want them to do, even if it's that I'd like you to put your bum on the floor for 5 seconds, please. Or actually, I'd like you to do a really complex ladder retrieve, whatever that is. They are having to work to a set criteria to get hopefully a positive outcome, whether that's play, whether that's touch, whether that's a food reward. So purely by training our dogs, they're working dogs.
So we've hopefully blown to pieces the concept of like what you can refer as a gun dog or a hunting dog. I suppose a hunting dog is more not clear boundaries, but a hunting dog is hunting for something. So we know that it is at some point looking for something. And like in America, they say a bird dog. So you would reference that dog is somehow working with birds. And I suppose with gun dogs, we say, well, I'm referencing the somewhere that dog is working with guns. But they are all probably names we gave things in a far different time. They may apply now, but in most people's dogs, like if I was to give my dog all the labels done, be like, well, okay, so it's like a working gun emotional pet dog. Do you know what I mean? There's like all these labels that you could attach them, like we attach to humans.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we can blow it apart even further when we talk about hunting dogs, because we haven't even touched on tracking dogs. We haven't even touched on the dogs that do scent work for kind of stalking, if a deer's run off, to try and track them. So there are so many jobs out there for our dogs. And exactly like you, I don't think there's one label that fits all. You know, I laugh that my dogs are already conflicted because they're HPR and with a double dose of retriever, but they're also pet dogs. They're also scent dogs. They're also one of the man trails. They're also gun dogs. They're also pet gun dogs, because actually the amount of time I would work them on a sheet would be exceedingly low compared to someone who is maybe a gamekeeper and has their dogs purely as working dogs. So I suppose part of it is also, why can't our dog have many labels? Why can't my dog be all of those? Like we know that dogs can absolutely differentiate very quickly between different roles. My dog knows instantly when he's a pet dog, when he's in the home and he's just kind of lolling around on the sofa, to when I'm picking up my whistle and I've got my dummy bag and he's like, oh, we're going to go do stuff, this is going to be awesome and fun, to when I get out the man trailing harness and he's like, oh, I need to concentrate on that because I'm doing scent work. Like, he can differentiate between all of those things. So why can't we see our dogs in a broader category than he's a gun dog? Like my dog is a gun dog breed. He's a cross of 2 gun dog breeds, but that's not all that he is. It's like us. We don't label ourselves into one pigeonhole. I don't go, well, actually, I'm a therapist. Yeah, I'm a therapist, but I'm also a friend. I'm also a dog trainer. I'm also a daughter. I can have multiple labels and I can perform multiple roles. So I don't think we need to necessarily go, my dog has to be X, Y, and Z to fit into that label of gun dog.
I suppose from where this sort of conversation started as well, for us within the ladies working dog group, your dog may never go on a shoot, it may never get paid for its job, it may never retrieve, it may only do a section of something, but if it's working with you in this sort of human dog bond, I suppose that's another way we can identify what a working dog is. Does it do anything with the handler as a team to mutually benefit both?
Yeah. And I think it goes back to that idea of, am I giving my dog a job to do? Am I giving it a set criteria and a set outcome? And is it performing that? And is that going to be of benefit? If so, then it's probably a working dog. And yes, some people could say, well, oh yeah, but actually my criteria might be that I take my dog for a walk on the beach on a Sunday afternoon and I'm expecting it to not run off and stay to heel or whatever else. It's still working. It's still working for something. And although we may not classify that as a working dog, in that moment, that dog is still working for something. So I think we need to move away from this idea of our dogs having a set purpose. And the idea of a gun dog, I keep going back to it, is it's such a broad classification. Like, is it a gun dog because it's a gun dog breed? And if I took it to Crufts, it would be in that classification. Well, my dog isn't KC registered, so it can't go. So how does that work then? Is it only a gun dog if it's on a sheet? Is it only a gun dog if it picks up a dummy? Because that's the closest thing that I've got to game. You know, where does it end? Where does it start? And I suppose for me, the big question is, does it matter? Does it genuinely matter? Are you having fun with your dog? Does your dog feel like it's got a purpose in that moment where it's doing something really cool with you to build a better bond and for you to work together to do something enjoyable? That's really all we care about, really, in the ladies working dog group, don't we? We don't care whether you're like, we'll celebrate it if your dog is a field trial champion. Absolutely, we'll celebrate it because that's a fantastic thing to do. We'll also celebrate it when it's done its first retrieve on a sheet. We'll also celebrate it the first time your 6-month-old puppy picks up a pair of socks as a dummy. Like, they're all equally as important. It's all part of that journey of that relationship you have with your dog. And I think fundamentally, working dog or not, or however you want to classify it, that's what we're celebrating, isn't it? The fact that you want to have a deep relationship with your dog, you want to do something meaningful with it, and no matter what that looks like, that's important to us.
Fantastic. Thank you for another amazing podcast, Em. I hope you've all enjoyed listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, tell other people. Tell us what you think. Go to the website, www.ladiesworkingdoggroup.com/free content. You'll find there this podcast alongside its related blog. Plus, you'll find there ways of sending us your thoughts, your information, so that we can keep the conversation going. Let's just keep on learning and laughing and enjoying this. You know, it doesn't need to be serious, it needs to be fun. And remember, it doesn't matter what dog you have or what you do with that dog. What matters is that you're both enjoying it. You stay tuned and keep unleashing the potential of your dog. That's it for today's episode. A massive thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to head over to the LWDG and sign up for our membership. Get access to expert-led training, a wonderfully supportive community, and the resources you need to become a confident and skilled gun dog trainer. Let's take this journey together, because no woman should have to train her gun dog alone. We'll see you all next week.